It's the queen from Queens with Money Minutes Matters for you and I. Boom, boom, boom. It's a queen from Queens with Money Minutes Matters for you and me. Boom, boom, boom. Hey guys, it's your girl Paula, the queen from Queens. These are Money Minutes That Matters. It's a talk show where you call with financial questions and I'll give you financial answers. On this show, we're doing it together. We're accountability buddies. We are accountable to each other. We move from being in debt to being debt-free to maximizing our financial future and optimizing our health. You know, I'm a healthcare professional, so I'm here for you. This is such an amazing time. We have a new president and a new vice president. I couldn't be more happier. Let's go. Let's make America great. Not again. From this point on, let's make America great. I'm excited to see what the future holds for us. And for that reason, I am holding my first free financial empowerment seminar. It's going to help you get your financial piece of the pie. Registration's open on Eventbrite. Just type in money, how to get a bigger piece of the pie. Have you guys seen my new commercial? I know you saw the old one, have you heard, have you heard? But this one talks about the fact that I was born in Queens, New York. Let's check out my commercial. I was born in a housing project in Queens, New York. I grew up in Section 8 housing. At 30 years old, we bought our first home. 8 years later, we bought a 3-acre lot. We designed and built the home of our dreams. Let us teach you how to get a financial piece of the pie. We're hosting a free financial empowerment seminar, February 20th, 2021. You don't want to miss it. Okay, tell me, what do you think about it? It's my truth, and I have to live in it. It does not matter where you start. It's a matter of where you finish. It does not matter how much money you make. You can make $50,000, $100,000, even $250,000 a year. That doesn't matter. It matters how much you keep, how much you invest, how much of your money makes money for you. What am I saying? Compound interest. If you have the money and you have this elaborate, glamorous lifestyle and you're not saving towards your financial future, then it really doesn't matter, because 10, 20 years from now, when your children go off to college, how will you pay? When it's time to retire, how will you do it? If it's time for you to become an entrepreneur, and if you don't have the money, that's what matters. I know people who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, but they still live paycheck to paycheck. This is our show. That's why we're here. We're going to teach each other what's the most important thing. And it's not about what kind of purse you have, what kind of car you drive, what kind of house you live in. It's a matter of being in a position to leave an inheritance to your children's children. That's most important to me and my family. This show is primarily sponsored by EAJ1023radio.com. I need to thank a couple of people. One, I need to thank Mr. P. Scott Productions for my amazing theme song. It's the Queen from Queens. You see, I like my song, right? And I also need to thank Dre Drizzle. That is the young man who put my 2 commercials on point. Love him, love them. Thank you for your creativity. I'm looking forward to working with you on future events. Guys, this is our show. We're reading Susie Orman. Let's start our show. It's the Queen from Queens. We're reading Susie Orman's The Ultimate Retirement Guide for 50 Plus. Love Susie Orman. So we're on chapter 5, and chapter 5 says power moves for your 60s. When the numbers of life start to spool out from 59 to 60 to 65, and suddenly you are about to leave your 60s behind, I have to tell you, there is this feeling of disbelief. Like, how can this be? Where did all the time go? I swear it was just yesterday that I was celebrating my 50th, and yet the calendar insists I am 68. I don't feel 68. I feel young. It's certainly a different 68 than it was in my parents' generation. Aging, the power of aging. So she goes through all these chapters, and again, this is an amazing book. So getting into this book, I read this book in the beginning, I think the beginning of 2020, read it, loved Susie, absolutely. I even bought her Ultimate Retirement Guide and all of her must-have documents. And she says, a 65-year-old woman in average health has a 44% probability of still being alive at age 90. A 65-year-old man in average health has a 33% chance of being alive at 90. A married couple, both at age 65 and in average health, has about a 62% probability that one spouse will be alive at age 90. That's a factor, because if you live until you're 90, how will you finance your care? So she goes into the moves to make in your 60s. Decide whether a 401k rollover makes sense. 401k, 403b, Roth IRA, TSP, all those things. At 59 and a half years old, you can take out your money. What are you going to do with this money? How are you going to make this money grow for you? It's no sense having a nest egg and all of a sudden 10 years later you don't have any money. So how do you make your money grow while you're still sleeping? Keep investing for long-term retirement. Just like I said, don't let the money sit there. Let the money make money for you. Delay starting Social Security until age 70. And we've talked about this. If you were born before 1960, you can retire with full retirement at 66. If you were born after 1960, you can retire with full retirement age at 67. Remember, recently, 2 months were added to that. But you can start collecting Social Security at age 62. But at that point, you will forever have less money. You may never get your maximum at 100%. What does this mean? You may be stuck at only receiving 70% of all that you're qualified for. If you wait until you're 70 years old, you may qualify to get 20 to 30% more than your maximum retirement. So you may get 120% of your Social Security each month. Things to consider. Enroll in Medicare and supplemental coverage at age 65. This is yours. You've paid into it. At 65, you can enroll into Medicare. She says, choose the safe pension payout option. My husband and I had this conversation just recently. I have a small pension at my employer. They stopped contributing in 2009, but the pension sits there and it gets a little bit of interest money. So I can't claim this money until I'm 65 years old. But the decision becomes, do I take the maximum amount as an individual, or do I allow my husband to get a piece of this pension? Meaning, instead of me getting like $1,500 per month for a lifetime, do I take maybe $1,000 and allow my husband to receive $1,000 if I pass before him for the rest of his lifetime? Those are things to consider. You can give them 100%, 50%, 25%. These are things that you have to have notated in those documents prior to your death. Obviously, be flexible if a bear market hits early in retirement. What does that mean? The stock market fluctuates. We know that. In 2008, we were slammed. In the beginning of 2020, we were slammed when Corona hit. It went down for a couple of months. But by the end of 2020, it had picked up and it had soared towards the end. So if you're invested, you need to take note of what your retirement looks like. Chapter 6. How to pay yourself in retirement and not run out of money. Again, if you retire at 65, 66, 67, and you're going to live until you're 90, what are you going to do to ensure that you still have money? So she goes through a number of things here, and she says the moves to make to pay yourself and not run out of money is: 1, know your expenses. Is it going to cost me $2,000 a month to live my lifestyle? Meaning, you can't take a lot of debt into retirement. Calculate your reliable income sources. This is Social Security, your pension, and any investments. These are set amounts. What can I do with this set amount of money? 3, pay your fixed living expenses with guaranteed income. 4, keep 2 years of living expenses in cash. 5, hatch an RMD plan, which is required minimum distributions. You need to know you can't let your money sit there until you're 70, 80 years old and do nothing, because then you'll be penalized. So you need to know what the plan and the strategy is for that. Lastly, plan to spend no more than 3% of your portfolio in the first year of retirement. Meaning you have grandkids, you're retired, can everybody go to Disney World at your expense? Ugh. But you can't be in the position where you're burning out all your money in the first 10 years and then the latter 10, 20 years you have no money. Anyway, this is our girl Susie. I love this book. I love Susie. Let's get our show started. It's the Queen from Queens. We have Michelle from Brooklyn. Hey, Michelle.
Hi, Paula. Wait, let me give you the correct title. The Queen from Queens. How are you, ma'am?
You know what LL Cool J said? I'm from Queens. She was raised out in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Michelle,
yes,
thank you for calling back to my show. So remind us, you were living in a really bad neighborhood and it was dangerous for you and your child. Catch us up.
Yes, I was living in an area that was not conducive to raising a child. However, the price for the property was such a phenomenal rate that I decided to go with the price of the house versus looking for a stable and safe environment. And that was a decision that I made early on that now that I look back, it wasn't the greatest. However, I was in a situation where my house had been compromised and someone came in the middle of the night and they had stolen my television. And I was at home at the time, which was very unnerving and it's just such a horrible feeling. It's so hard to describe. However, I was home. Someone came in and they took the television and I came down the stairs because the lights were on. And I'm like, I don't remember leaving the lights on downstairs before I went to bed. And lo and behold, my lights were on in the living room. My door was wide open and the television was gone.
My God.
And I was just absolutely terrified. But then I had to thank God that no one came upstairs to hurt me, because that could have been such a terrible situation for me and my child at the time.
Okay, so that was then. So where are you now?
Now I'm in an absolutely wonderful situation. I was able to acquire accommodations that are safe for, I was able to accommodate, get into a situation that would provide environmentally sound and safe living conditions for me and my child.
Okay, what does that all mean? Because I know the first show you were saying that you had to get your credit in order before you could move. What happened with all that?
Yes, well, following the steps that you had given to me, which I thought were like, what is Mrs. Roberts talking about? Because I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get out of this situation I am in by being so heavily in debt with a bad credit history. However, I followed the steps that you outlined for me, and I stayed pretty disciplined to it, and I was able to pay off numerous credit cards and improve my credit score, which enabled me to move into a fantastic situation again, which is it's so enlightening to be able to come home and be safe and sound. Those words have never echoed so much meaning to me as they do now. So safe and sound at home is the best thing ever.
Okay, so I have a few questions for you. How much did you pay off in credit card debt?
I was able to pay off at the time, I believe it was at least 15,000, and I was still working towards paying down more.
That's awesome. Now, where did your credit score go from what number and where is it at right about now?
Or it was about 625. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to go back and remember.
That's okay.
And presently, I am at a credit score of about 792.
So
I'm just continuing to follow the steps. 2
more quick questions. What were you willing to sacrifice to get from point A to now being in point B?
Willing to sacrifice going out to eat. I cut that down, virtually cut it off. I was able to sacrifice purchasing any clothing, any shoes, anything that just anything that was just, it seemed like it was a little too much.
My last question is, are you coming to my conference?
Absolutely. I actually loved their advertising that you have.
We have Mary from Delaware on the line. Hey, Mary.
Hi, Paula. How are you? I'm so sorry. I'm in my car driving, so if there's any problem with my sound, it's probably because I am on my speakerphone in my car.
Okay. Thank you for telling me. Where are you going this morning, Mary?
College shopping for the kids that are in college, just trying to drop some groceries to them.
Oh, you're such a good mom.
Well, we try, but I love your show, and I love that you're talking about college debt, and that's actually the reason I called in. I have 4 kids, and 2 are actually almost 3 are in college, and I am absolutely being killed with college debt. You would think, somebody that has 4 kids, middle class income, you get some help from FAFSA. Nothing. So thank God, there's benefits. My husband and I, we did save for the kids for college, but it almost comes against you when you're filling out these FAFSA forms.
You have 4 kids. How old are you, Mary?
I am 50.
You're 50. You have 4 kids. You have 3 in college, or 3, you said almost in college?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so how old is your oldest in college in terms of what year are they? What grade?
She is a senior.
Senior in college. And what about your second child in college?
He's a sophomore. Obviously.
He's a sophomore, okay. And you have 1 starting school?
Yes.
Okay. So,
a freshman in college, yes.
Okay, so you have 3 in college. OMG. I mean, even if you went to State University, that's $100,000 a year after taxes. Please tell me you're rich.
Yeah. No, and this is it. I mean, thank God that my husband and I, that we actually saved for these kids a little bit. And I'm not saying we have, tons of saving for them, but, there is enough there. But, even though saving saved us, but it also comes against you when you're applying for FAFSA. Now, granted...
Well, I tell you what, FAFSA is a free application for federal student aid. I did FAFSA once when my oldest child went to college, and FAFSA said, we're not giving you... Matter of fact, they said to me, we're going to give you student loan debt.
Exactly. So you understand what I'm talking about.
I do. So FAFSA's not helping. Even with 3 children, FAFSA's not helping you?
No. I think because, my husband works, I work, we have little side gigs, just from different things. And I just think our income adds up to way too much, which I'm very grateful because we could be on the other end where, we couldn't afford anything. But I just feel like we don't live over our means. We live in a nice area. It's not like we're hurting for anything, but it's not like we take elaborate vacations either. So, literally all of our money goes for these kids for college. And it's just frustrating because you don't get any help. And I truly believe the more you work, the more it comes against you.
Well, you're right, because it makes your income higher, right? So tell me something. When you filled out the FAFSA with 3 kids in college, how much did FAFSA say that you're eligible to pay for college each year?
Well, when my first kid went to college, get it? They said you can afford the full price. Now my daughter goes to the University of Delaware, so I was able to. They were like, you can afford $28,000.
Right, so that's $100,000 for a child who finishes school in 4 years. So if you have 3 kids, you're looking at already paying $300,000 for their education, right, at least. And the
other part is, I have one child that actually goes out of state. So when we did work the numbers with them, FAFSA did come in with a lower number, but because it's a private school, they go by, this is where it's frustrating that I saved, because this school says, oh no, you can afford $45,000 a year, because they do a different kind of form. They came back and they wanted to know everything about us, down to the nitty gritty. Right. And we had to give our kids 529 plans, and they took all that into consideration as income.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting too. FAFSA doesn't care how much you owe on your house, how much you have in your credit card debt, how many cars you have in terms of paying payments. FAFSA could care less.
So it's just frustrating. It's frustrating because, you know, I think middle class America is caught in the middle. And you just have to pay for it.
And you're right. You're right in the middle, right? That's why we call them the middle class, because you're right there. And the middle class, the range is huge.
And you know, we're very fortunate because people aren't, you know, there's lots of people, you know, think about, you know, society right now. Like there's lots of people that are not middle class America.
No, you're absolutely correct. But the problem is that we have a $1.7 trillion student loan debt. And this doesn't include the Parent Plus loans, right? Parent Plus loans.
Exactly. This is the other thing. You know, these Parent Plus loans, you get killed with, you know, interest and whatnot. So they don't care. They just want their money.
They do, and the interest is a killer. So tell me, are your kids taking out loans that help pay for their own college costs?
Absolutely. They've got to be, I make them take out the limit. There's like that $5,500. I make my kids take that out because that's called accountability.
Okay.
Because
I love that.
If you decide that you're going to goof off, you know, then guess what? That's on you.
I agree.
You will pay that back.
I mean, I agree in the sense that money isn't free. And the fact is, you are 50 years old. At some point, you have to retire. So if you're constantly forking out money, then how can you retire if you're paying for these extensive amounts of student loan debt? So each child is taking out.
If they retire, we're not retiring ever.
You know, Susie Orman says that if your retirement isn't set, then you shouldn't pay for your children's student loan debt. That's what Susie Orman said.
Yep.
Okay, so $5,500 for each of your children per year for student loans. Are you doing any Parent Plus loans?
Yes. Yeah, we have to. So we have saved enough for each of our kids for their first 2 years. Now, I take that back. We have the kids that are going out of state, we're paying a lot more tuition. So their 529 plan has been eaten up by that. So yeah, we have to take out Parent Plus loans. And I love, you know, this is the part I do not understand. People say, oh, the kids can take out the loan themselves. I don't think a kid can take out a Parent Plus loan.
A kid can't take out, as per FAFSA, more than $5,500 per year.
Yeah, so it comes down to the parents, you know.
It comes down to the parents. And the thing, too, is that these kids can get private loans. I mean, I get loans information from Discover, from Citibank. Everybody's sending me loans, information, trying to get me to take out loans for my child on the private end. So that bypasses what FAFSA will give you in terms of student loan debt allocation. But what people don't understand is, as a parent, it doesn't matter your income with Parent Plus loans. It doesn't matter.
Yes, exactly.
So you can take out loans of a couple $100,000 for your kid's debt. And guess what? You have to pay that as part of your retirement package.
Exactly. That's called your debt.
That's called your debt.
Yeah, and like, you know, I know people say, oh, you know what, let them go work and let them go to college too. That way, that's fine to say.
Yeah.
But the problem is, in our house, we believe education is the key to success. And they're not going to go get a job and going to school. That's just not going to happen in our house.
And that's a family decision.
I don't disagree with people that do that. I think it's a great opportunity for those, you know, if that's where your priority is. But for us, I am a true believer education is key.
Yeah.
And so we will do whatever we have to do to get our children through their undergrad. Now, am I happy about it? No. But is it something that just comes with the package? Yes.
You know, Mary, it's a tough decision. I mean, working.
It's very tough.
Working, yes, no, you know, being able to work around school, taking out student loan debt, tough decision. These are all tough family decisions. And so tell me something, Mary. I have two questions for you. If you could do something differently, what would you do?
I would have started saving for my children earlier. We couldn't afford it at the time, but I should have just put $20 a paycheck. Yeah. I absolutely believe had we planned sooner, we did okay with our planning, but had I known the reality, I guess we can call it, because in my head I thought, oh no, they're going to help my kids get through school. Wrong. Right. So I would have started earlier. I would absolutely 100% have started earlier.
And very similar to you, we have 4 children as well. We couldn't afford to save money. We didn't save anything for our kids to go to college. We were living. And you know what?
Exactly.
Yeah, we were living in. When my son went to college, it was a shocker in terms of how much I had to pay. Yeah. So my second question to you is, if we can look at you 10 years from now, how will you be financially?
Let me see. The last one goes. I mean, I think we'll be okay. You know, we'll have a lot of student debt to pay off, but hopefully, you know, by the time the children are all through, you know, we'll work and just dump money to pay all this off. But I'm sure we'll have some debt for sure from college.
Yeah, but will you be prepared for your retirement? I mean, you'll only be 60. And if you work until you're 70, that gives you another 10 years in order to get yourself financially secure. But the beauty of compound interest is time and investment money.
Yes.
So just something to think about. Now, Mary, I am hosting my first financial conference. I hope to see you there. After talking to that last caller, I thought it was so essential that I read this article to you. This article is entitled, Parent Plus Loans Are Burying Families in College Debt. Jay Rife was sitting in his pickup truck on the outskirts of Las Vegas. He answered a phone call that would permanently alter his life. A man from the federal government was on the line and told him that the loan that he had taken out for his son and daughter to go to college had come due. The monthly payment was $1,200. In this article, it's essential that you recognize the numbers. The monthly payment was $1,200. I thought I was going to pass out, said Rife, who was making $13 an hour as a maintenance worker. I hung up the phone and just kind of sat there for an hour trying to figure out what I was going to do. He didn't want to tell his wife, Tina, hoping to protect her from the possibility of being plunged into poverty, but it wasn't a secret he could keep. I think we both sat and cried for a while over it, said Jay, now 64. Numbers are important. 18 years after the call, the couple lives paycheck to paycheck, as almost 80% of all Americans, no matter what your income is, are living paycheck to paycheck. I know people who are making $30,000, $50,000, $100,000, $250,000, but they have no net worth. Why? Because all of the money that they're making goes into whatever they're doing at the current hour. They're vacationing, they have second homes, everyone in their household has a car, but there's no money put aside for them to build for their financial future. As I said, it's not a matter of where you come from, it's a matter of where you're going. It's not a matter of how much you make, it's a matter of how much you keep. So he said, I feel like I was stuck in it until I die. He said, sitting next to his wife, whose face drawn down in disbelief when they discuss it. The couple's original loan was $40,000 to cover the cost of sending their son and daughter to public universities in Indiana. And that's what I encourage, right? I say that everyone's not college material. You should start maybe considering community college because it's a third of the cost of in-state tuition. In-state tuition is probably a third of the cost of going to a private college. So it appears that they did all the right things. So the original loan amount was $40,000 to cover that cost, and the family was living in Indiana at the time. It has snowballed in those 18 years with interest as high as 8.5%. These bills now stand at $100,000. That's $100,000. He only took out $40,000. He's been paying, I assume, incrementally over these 18 years. But now, going into his retirement, he has a $100,000 debt. Student loan debt is a crisis. Jay and Tina are among the 3.5 million parents who have federal loans designed for families who don't have the money to send their kids to college. Even when students take out their own loans, Parent Plus loan programs enable parents to borrow more to meet the cost of college. These families now collectively owe the government more than $98 billion. Listen to the numbers, $98 billion, up from the $68 billion 5 years ago. This money is ballooning out, and we as the American public, the American parents, the American population, we're stuck with the debt. We are becoming a society of IOU. And we have Albert from New Jersey on the line. Hey, Albert.
Hey, Paula, how are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Everything is okay. Everything's okay. I'm out here in New Jersey. You know, I'm just playing it safe over here. You know, the pandemic is still going on. The numbers is up. You know, the vaccine is out. You know, so I'm still deciding whether or not I'm going to take that. But I'm doing good.
So what can I do for you today, Albert?
Hey, yeah, Paula, you know, what I was thinking about doing, what I'm setting up right now for my children, whereas, you know, God forbid something happened to me, you know, the beneficiary, whereas my two biological children and my stepchildren, they all would be satisfied, would be happy when I was long gone. You know how that goes when, you know, people more celebrating while you're gone on your behalf. So I'm just asking you, I know the best way to do it, but folks like percentage, 70, 30, how would I go about doing that?
70-30. So you're giving one of your biological children 70 and the other biological child 30? What does that mean?
Out of 100%. Now, should I go like for like 64 or 60, 30, and 10? Would that be a good thing to do? Or just have like the one primary to split it up amongst everyone, for everybody to be equally. So, and take it off of me. What I'm saying, that'll take it off of me.
It sounds like they're going to dig you up from the grave and rebury you. So,
yeah.
These are questions that I can't answer because I don't know your relationship with your children. I don't know, does one deserve 60 relative to one deserve 40, one deserve 10? I have no idea. Are you giving the stepchild 60? I don't know what you're doing. Let's talk about you for a second, Albert. How old are you?
60.
60. And what is your estate? What is in your estate that you're leaving to your children?
Co-op, which is I bought into shares with into my co-op, and you know I have cars and I have a lot of property.
A lot of property. Okay. What about money? Do you have 401k? Do you have any insurance? Do you have any other annuities, retirement plans? What are we talking about?
Yes, I have all that. I have a lot to set up for my retirement plans. I do have that.
I can't say to you what percentage you should leave to your children. But what I can say to you is that you need to get your estate in order, meaning you need to prepare your documents now and not having them fight over who gets what and who gets to make the decisions. As far as your 401k and your other retirement plans, those should give you allocations so that you can set up a primary or several primaries and secondary beneficiaries. That's
already set up.
That's already set up. Okay. So how does it work with your co-op? Because you have shares, do you get to give it to someone? How does that work?
Well, how does it work? So, like, if my children don't want the co-op after I'm long gone, you buy it back. You sell it back.
So let me suggest this to you, Albert. You need to get your documents. So I am not advocating for any particular system, but what I have the Susie Orman must-have documents. That gives you a will, a trust. It gives you your health concerns. It gives you all those things in one big pile so that you can get that notarized now and get it taken care of. Because ultimately, if you don't have decisions made, someone outside of you and your family may make these decisions for you. And if you have anything that has to go into probate, whether it be your living residence or your bank accounts, if those things aren't put into a trust, then your children are going to have to go through the legal system in order to get that taken care of. So Susie Orman's documents are $69. I bought them a year ago. It was like pulling teeth to get my husband to sign the documents. But quite honestly, you need to have those things taken care of. And whatever percentage you decide, put it down there. Write it down, because I wouldn't expect for one child to look out for the other children. This was a fantastic show. I love the fact that you guys trust me with your truth. What does that mean? You call me and tell me that you have questions about a retirement plan. You call me and tell me that the health and welfare of you and your family were in danger because of the community that you lived in. You're not just telling me, you're sharing it with other people. And then the caller who told us that student loan debt impacts the family. The fact is, we have a student loan debt crisis in this country of $1.7 trillion. This amount of money will follow you for 5, 10, 20 years. It will impact the life of yourself, your children, and potentially your grandchildren. Why are we letting this happen, people? But it's not just the student. No one talks about the debt that belongs to parents and to grandparents. How do we make better decisions? College isn't for everyone. Some people like trade schools. Some people want to go into the military. People need to consider the type of school we're going to, as well as, can we afford to pay for it? We don't have to go into the pits of debt in order to get a good education. It's not all about, I went to Yale, I went to Harvard, I went to Penn State. Am I getting an excellent education in my local state university? How about community college? I am a product of New York City community colleges. We call them CUNYs, and I got my bachelor's from SUNY's, the State University of New York. Don't forget to register for the conference. Go to eventbrite.com, type in money, how to get a bigger piece of the pie. This show is primarily sponsored by EAJ1023radio.com.
It's the Queen from Queens with the money when it matters for you and I.
Roberts Targets Financial is not a certified professional service of finances, brokers, accountants, taxes, insurance, or legal. We research the advice that is given to provide the most accurate, up-to-date information. This information is designed to work in conjunction with your information. All information is suggestions. We recommend that you consult with a trusted licensed professional for your specific decisions. All information is for general purposes. We are not liable for any losses or gains. We accept no responsibility for any decisions made after participating on or from listening to the show or from Roberts Targets Financials. If you like this episode, hit the subscribe button.